everyone, and welcome to another edition of Alphadraft by the Numbers. This is the CSGO edition. I'm Richard Lewis, your host. My co-host coming at you from sunny Korea is, of course, Duncan Thorin Shields. Enjoying a nice bowl of kimchi at the moment.
No, she left earlier, man. Oh, kimchi, right? The food. Yeah, no, I don't eat that, mate. Disgusting.
Hey.
I must say all Korean things. No, the actual irony is that at the moment, it's not actually that sunny. Like, it's still really warm because the climate's like that, but it's quite cloudy at the moment. Yeah, I've heard apparently in the UK it's like roasting or something.
Yeah, mate, it's absolute, mate. It's beyond a joke. Like I've got all the windows open. I'm sat in shorts. I never wear shorts. So yeah, this is
too bad I'm not there then, because that would only make my gimmick of wearing those coats look even better, because I would definitely still be wearing them, by the way. Like, at no point does it ever get warm in my room back there. So it'd just look epic, wouldn't it? People would be like, where does he actually live? In a post-apocalyptic winter?
Just before we even get into the show, like, come on, dude, what is up with the coats? Why do you wear them? Is it really that cold? Like, can we get to the truth of this? I'm an investigative journalist. I know what the public want to hear. So, come on.
I mean, I've actually said this before. I just didn't want to repeat it like 8 million times, so I didn't bother after that. But basically, the house that I live in is a really old one. And so when I asked someone, this is what they told me. Apparently, because of the type of brick or something that it's built with, when it's something weird, like, I can't remember what the physics of it is, but basically, when it's hot, somehow like the heat doesn't penetrate the room, as bizarre as that sounds. So it could be t-shirt weather outside, and inside I'd still need to wear at least a jumper. So somehow, I'm on the 3rd floor as well, so I'm like way up in my house,
Yeah, but I thought heat rises. That's science.
Yeah, if you pay for the heat to go up that far. But since I'm on 3 floors up, my family only lives, most of my family doesn't live in my house anymore. So they haven't paid for heat to go through the entire house, because it costs like 3 times as much. So they just pay for heat on the bottom floor, and I'm on the top floor. So then, even in the cold, it doesn't get that much colder. It just gets about, so it's actually about the same temperature, believe it or not, all year long. That's why I just wear those coats and scarves the whole time.
Do you think your family are trying to tell you something with this fundamental statement that you're not worth heating?
No, they were just poor, mate. They just couldn't afford it. So,
Mate, you've made a bunch of money. You're doing an Alphadraft show. Come on.
Yeah.
Sort your family out.
So I'm just going to pay what they're already heated. I'm the one who's not heated, mate. I'll choose to save that money to not be heated.
Okay, well, you are a miser. You are a miser. But I admire your miserly nature. Okay. Other than that, you're doing good, though, right?
Yeah, pretty great. Yeah. I've recovered from Gfinity almost.
Yeah. Same here. That was a beast. Let's start by talking about Gfinity. It was a great event, as it often is in London. And, of course, it was an interesting one because neither Fnatic or TSM, the top 2 teams in the world right now, were present. So it was a big opportunity for a statement of intent from some of the other teams that attended. Now, those 2 teams that we felt were kind of favourites or frontrunners, NiP and EnVyUs, they did, of course, make it to the final. Now, we'll start there, and we'll talk about EnVyUs winning, triumphant. Does this kind of put EnVyUs back on the map for you a little bit, or is this a little bit of an anomaly that we shouldn't read too much into? Because they were pretty poor in the tournament until they got to the final, in which case they just blasted everyone away. They blasted NiP 3-0. It was really easy for them. But before that, they didn't look so great.
Yeah, the problem with EnVyUs is I think it's more like they just they're just treading water. They haven't gone out the water, and they haven't sunk further below. Because the big problem for EnVyUs is, like you said, since Fnatic and TSM aren't there, it's not like they gain any ground on those teams above them. Like, those teams are still firmly ahead. I mean, TSM's won 3 events in a row. Fnatic just always delivers results. So EnVyUs is still a long way off those 2 teams. But the key thing is they're not now liable to drop lower, because obviously. Now, listen, VP and NiP, the teams, a couple of the teams below them, admittedly, yeah, they're not in the best of form at the moment. But the team that's obviously coming for TSM is Na'Vi, and coming for EnVyUs rather. And obviously, the fact that Na'Vi just beat them recently also means if they play again, maybe Na'Vi's going to beat them again. So I think that it's more like they have to hold that position if they want to be considered a top team. And obviously, in a tournament where everyone's ranked below you, even if it is just rankings and someone that goes back weeks and weeks, you have to kind of hold serve. You have to win that tournament. If you lose to someone like Nip, or hey, if it had been someone crazy like Dignitas, now people are going to really question your place in the world. So I don't think it's not like they're being a resurgence. I don't think. To me, it's just more like this is just what that team's capable of if they have enough chance, you know.
Well, yeah, but they were one overtime away from going out in the semis. You know, Dignitas took them to overtime, EnVyUs on overpass, after EnVyUs had lost the first map, 16-8, their worst offline performance on Dust 2. In fact, actually, I think since the team's inception, they've never lost Dust 2 without at least getting to double figures of rounds. And Dignitas changed that, beat them 16-8. Pimp was going off like a firecracker. Overpass goes to overtime. EnVyUs win it 4-0. Mentally defeat Dignitas, and then they crush them on cash. Now, if EnVyUs lose that overtime to Dignitas, I think NIP beat Dignitas because they're also kind of their kryptonite. MSL says you just can't figure out a way to beat them. Yeah. So, I don't know. This, for me, was a really frustrating glimpse at what's good about EnVyUs and what's bad about EnVyUs. They also dropped maps against MouseSports, which I guess within the context of the tournament MouseSports had, maybe isn't so surprising. But certainly dropping a map against Cloud9, it was DE Train. That was a bit weird. And EnVyUs didn't look polished, like I say, until the final.
Yeah, but that, as weird as it sounds, yeah, that's a bad sign for right now. Like right now, it means their form's in the toilet, despite what happened in the final, because there were so many opportunities for them to lose and maybe go out earlier. So that's a reality. You can't ignore that. But it also just shows you, in a weird way, where if I'm then, I wouldn't necessarily rush to make roster moves, because even if on a bad tournament like that, you can somehow summon something like that final out of nowhere against the top team. You must, your core, be a pretty special team, even though admittedly, like I say, they are probably in the worst slump overall of their careers in terms of the LAN performances. Online, they had that slump, but I mean, in terms of LAN, they're still roughly around the worst level I think they've been at.
But so let's talk about their rivals in the final, NIP. Now, I said coming into this that NIP were under a lot of pressure to win. They need to get back to winning ways. I think we all kind of agree with that. They brought Exist back in, so it's almost like they've gone full circle in terms of cycling the in-game leaders. They had a fairly comfortable road. You know, they didn't look great in the opening game against SK. That was a double overtime, I think it was, which NIP won on the first map, Cobble. But after that, they kind of found a good gear. They did drop a map against Dignitas. They did 2-0 MouseSports. But then they made it to the final, and they were just flat as a pancake. It was unbelievable just how poor they were against the top team. And it's not the first time that's happened. Now, should NIP be looking at this and saying, well, we made it to a semi-final last time, we made it to a final this time, that's forward progress? Or should they be thinking, actually, we've still got the same old problems, that when it mattered, we looked absolutely poor. We looked like a tier 2 team.
The problem is, what's funny is the story for NIP is similar to what I think of in terms of EnVyUs, where I don't take the final too harshly. Like, it's the rest of the tournament that wasn't so convincing for me in terms of NIP. Like, they didn't look great in the rest of the tournament, you know. They just got by, and obviously they beat MouseSports cleanly in terms of the overall amount, but MouseSports definitely could have won map 1, and that would have been a shocking giving a map away there, so I don't feel as though NIP was like super convincing here, even though they did make the final. I mean, you have to consider they did have this ridiculous run to the final where they only played like SK Gaming, Dignitas, and then MouseSports. That's it. They're the only teams they played to get to the final in a tournament which featured EnVyUs, you know, Virtus.Pro. They never had to play any of the teams that are above them in the rankings, you know. So, I mean, they did what they had to do, which is good. But as weird as it sounds, I don't take the final as too depressing, because actually I've always thought that EnVyUs was like the kryptonite to NIP. Like, they're a better team anyway, but I mean, just in terms of matchup, you've seen time and time again when EnVyUs have been able to crush them. Like, I think this year, NIP have only won 2 best of X series offline against EnVyUs, and EnVyUs has won something like 4, and 2 of those were best of 5. So, in fact, even 3 of those might even be 5 that EnVyUs has won. So, yeah, that's just ridiculous. Like, you're not going to beat that team, basically, if they're playing to their level. You know, it's almost up to them whether you win or not. Now, in terms of the rest of the stuff, I just think Nip's not in a great place right now. This looks like the same Nip that went to DreamHack and lost to Na'Vi there. I think the problem with Nip is in the rankings, yeah, they're still fairly high up there because no one's done the work to get past them. But if you talk just about in terms of current form, I think Nip in terms of current form might be like the 5th or 6th best team in the world, maybe worse. Yeah. It's not a good place.
Yeah, it's not a good place. I mean, for me, what was most frustrating about NIP was the players that we keep highlighting as needing to step up, they stepped up. I thought Exist was back to calling. He fragged quite well. Gets to the final, terrible. You know, I thought Exist did all right. Freiburg, been big question marks about him. He's been statistically the weakest player. Was dropping bombs, 30 frags, you know, no problem. Gets to the final, just above Exist. Forest had a few awkward moments against SK, but for the most part grew into the tournament and got better as it went on. Didn't really do anything in the final. Arlu, he was strange. He was conspicuously absent, actually. Apart from those sort of 2 aces that everyone was raving about, his AWPing was actually really poor, and he made more kills with the rifle, it seemed, in the key games. So it was basically get right against the world. And when it came to the final, that was really apparent. And we made the joke on air about how, you know, get right was in ELO hell. But that was really, you know, it was unbelievable how bad it was. So I just wanted to get your thoughts about that. And then I'm going to bring something up because I did have a conversation with Freiburg about it afterwards. And I just wanted to get your thoughts about it. But first of all, yeah, I mean, why is it these players can sort of step up and then when it matters, they're just not there? Can you identify the problems?
I mean, listen, the fact that we're even having this discussion shows how out of control the mania surrounding that team is. In any other teammate that's a top team, when someone sucks a dick and has negative scores over and over, no one goes like, what is it you think that's wrong with him? Like, what could we do to make, they just go, he's bad, get him out the team, get a player who can do the job in right now, like at any job in the world, you know. Now, the problem with Nip is they have legacy players. So the one thing you can never consider is removing these players. So if I was to assess the players at this tournament, this is how I would actually think of it. Exist, terrible. The biggest problem Exist has is that as an in-game leader, he doesn't do much. Like, you can even talk to the Nip guys. They don't have detailed strategies. They don't have special strategies that are very specific for one opponent that change over time. They just play the Nip style and they hope it works. And sometimes it works a bit, but it never wins tournaments. And so basically the problem with that is, of all in-game leaders, in the top 8, for example, I would give Exist the least credit for the actual outcome of what happens to the team. Therefore, when you take away the in-game aspect, that's what usually makes the in-game leader important. That's what outweighs someone like Existence himself being much, much worse, is the fact that he has this brilliant tactical mind. So if Exist doesn't have that, he now must frag. That is now his job. He must contribute frags. So if he's not doing that, which he isn't, from what I've seen the last few months, no, then he has to go. There's no other way about it. It has to be one or the other. Either you have to be a good in-game leader or a fragger. Before, he used to be great because he did half of each, you know. So he had this brilliant balance between the two, and we all thought, hey, maybe he facilitates those other stars doing this stuff. But it seems like Get Right does fine, mate, no matter who's in-game leading and no matter who's doing what. So Exist, I'm done with him pretty much. Especially since it seems like Nip's unwilling to change tactical style. So you can get rid of him for start off. Now you've got the other two, which is Freiburg and Forest. Mm-hmm. The problem here is, believe it or not, I think of the two the one that's doing the worst overall is still Freiburg. If you took like the last 3 months as your sample size, but actually I would pick Forest as the one I'd get rid of. Now the reason why is Freiburg's not even supposed to be a star player. He's an entry fragger. Okay, admittedly he has problems there sometimes, but he's just a role player. As long as to some degree he can do his role, assuming we're not just going to throw 3 members of the team out, if I have to pick between the two, I'm getting rid of Forest. Because at the end of the day, Forest's job is not to look all right on the scoreboard. It's not to get 15 kills in a map. His job is to be one of the star players. If Nip want to beat Fnatic, they want to beat TSM, they want to beat EnVyUs, they probably need Get Right, Alu, and Forest to be like a 3-man combo where 2 of the 3 go off, and then there's the firepower you need to get it done, and then the role players do their jobs, which you just contribute, you know. At the moment, as far as I can tell, Forest has the odd map, but he's just not a star player. And notice that when I say that, he's not a superstar. They're the best players in the world. He's not even a star to me. Like, he's not even close to the point in having him in the team, aside from the fact his name is Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think that assessment might be a little bit harsh, but I'll just tell you what the players said to me. So after the event, I went back to the hotel. Now I'll never. It's not like the old days. Like basically, I used to be quite a presence. I used to go out drinking with the players quite a lot. I knew a lot of them. I think as I've got a little bit older, and I don't do that quite so much. But also the stuff that I'm writing, it's a bit more high profile now. So I don't want to put them in the awkward position of them being sat around me and thinking, "Oh, can I trust Richard? What if we say something stupid? Blah, 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 blah." So I generally just sit away from the players. And if they want to come over and talk to me, they can. But they invited me out for a drink. We were having a talk, and they said they didn't mind me addressing this topic with you. And that was that. Obviously, I was talking to the NiP and the Dignitas players in particular, who are like, when Thorin does his analysis, he seems really hung up on statistics. And we don't feel statistics reflect what's actually going wrong in NiP. It's not just about frags.
Okay, what's going wrong in NiP then?
Well, okay, so they were saying that they have these tactics where literally, for example, a player's job could be to watch a particular part of a map for the entire duration of a half. And if people don't push through there, that player's done his job, right, to watch that point. Equally, if someone dies on another part of the map and they need to move out and they get caught by a rotate or a backstab or a push because they've had to move out because someone else has failed. So, for example, that person might get an entry kill and then die, but that ruins the whole strat. Sometimes people get caught on the hop as a result of that. And they're saying none of that will be reflected in statistics. Like, you could do your job 100%.
I don't understand what this means, though, mate. What is the relevance of that to why NiP sucks a dick?
Okay. Well, what they're saying is that I guess the argument would be if they get countered tactically, then those tactics being countered can make people look bad statistically when in actual fact, within the context of the tactic, they're doing everything appropriately. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So I guess
wait a second. I realise NiP aren't here right now, so I'm not actually arguing with NiP here, Rich. But you realise they've just told you, like, we're doing the right tactics, but we're just getting countered tactically.
No. I probably misrepresented their argument slightly. I think ultimately what they were saying.
Here's what their argument is. I've had these conversations with these players before. Their argument, right, is so fucked that I'm going to drop a little bomb on you. Here's what NiP players do when you talk to them in private. It's none of their fault. It's not Freiburg's fault. It's not Exist's fault. It's not Forest's fault. Those guys who you can see in the server, their crosshairs fucking not going on people's heads and clicking mouse 1, which is the core of being a great Counterstrike player. Do you know what they will do? I'm going to drop this bomb now. I don't give a fuck, mate. Yeah. They'll find a way to blame it that it's GetRight's fault. So even though GetRight got all those kills and was in position and outsmarted the other guy and won a 1v2, he's the one who he was a bit too slow in the rotation, or you know what? He's just so greedy with the way he does this. It doesn't allow us to do other things. That's what fucking hateful little spiteful bitches are on the NiP team. That they themselves are fucking up, ruining their teammates' chance to win. But it's his fault. The guy who's carried them to all those championships. You think he exists sitting like blinded by the shimmering light if he opens his curtains off all those trophies in his eyes if he doesn't have GetRight on his team? Like, fuck he is. He'd have about 3 championships in CSGO. Like, maybe he could have made another team and been a good in-game leader and done this style. That's all acceptable to me. Maybe it would happen. But he'd have been, like, at best, a Pro Next level type player, where before he got Crimson Off, you know what? He only had a couple of titles. He was just a good player. That's the problem with these.
But actually,
listen, let me finish here, okay? This is all I want to say. Sure. I'll bet at the end of this conversation you had with them, they arrived at the fact that actually no player was to blame and no player should be removed.
I mean,
that just defies reality, mate.
No, they didn't say that. I think if anything, I guess that argument kind of lends itself to what you were saying earlier. When we were
it's all me, mate. I'm the one using my mind. Like, I look at stats and I use my mind to recreate reality. And I'm the one pretty much holding NiP back from winning titles. You know, teams like Fnatic and TSM and EnVyUs, they don't have any of these like rotations that if one guy gets killed, he goes off and he sucks a dick. Actually, those players just suck a dick because they live in reality. But in NiP world, like, you know, my mind is so powerful, which I agree with. I'm actually altering reality. Like, if I'd have believed in NiP, if I'd had a bit of faith, maybe they wouldn't have gotten 3-0. Why couldn't I just give them a map, Rich? What's wrong with me? Stats. What is going on here? I've cracked the secret to the universe.
I think what the implication of the conversation was.
It's already a classic already, mate.
No, but I think I think if anything, it lends itself to what we were talking about with Exist's tactics, actually, because like if you deploy a player to do a job, that ultimately has them for the longest period of time not making a contribution of any perceptible kind, then that to me seems to be a tactical failing, right? No? Would you agree with that?
I'm confused. Essentially, if you just keep someone doing the same job over and over.
Yeah, like for example, okay, so let's say, okay, this is the strat, you're doing that, and this guy is literally not involved. Like, say after 3 or 4 rounds, your job is to watch a particular part of the map, right? And they're clearly not pushing through there. So maybe you get to 5 rounds, 6 rounds. Why aren't we switching a tactic up? That's what I've been thinking as a caller.
So then we're in agreement. Let's get rid of exist.
Yeah, well, no, that's actually what I mean. I don't know if Nip meant it that way, but reading
definitely
between the
didn't.
lines. Yeah, well, no doubt.
You remember, okay, these are the same Nip players who were 24/7 salty at Lurpus, right? So remember the things that Lurpus said. He said, like, even if you win now, maybe you could win more if you had all of them. Best thing is he actually used all of them as the example, mate, before they won the major. Even though they won the major, you know, they're probably still going to continue bad form. If they ever get rid of Fifth Laren, you know, they'll probably be able to do better than they are now, not better than their best peak, you know. And then if they were to get rid of Fifth Laren, hey, why not try someone like Alu? He's like a really skilled player, and if he could probably learn some Swedish. Literally every single one of these factors became in play and had some validity. But the problem is all after the fact, like months later from them. So the problem here is they were just essentially upset at the idea that anyone could ever criticize them, that there could be any changes made. Yet they then made the same changes themselves when they were forced to. So I don't really see what the point in Nip getting all salty at me is. You're the ones, your job is professional Counterstrike player. Win a match, motherfucker. My job's to tell you when you're doing dog shit. There we go. Everyone's doing their job. Oh, wait a second. That's right. Only I am. I'm killing it, guys. I'm making fucking tons of money. I'm predicting your games right. 3-0 in the final. I'm loving it. Everyone's loving my job. What the fuck are you doing, eh? Not even putting frags on the board. So get an extra pint in next time. So Rich is so drunk that actually that logic makes sense to him. That part about like, yeah, and then if you double back on the player, but then you shoot him, but then your teammate gets the kill, then did you really get a frag? Is it even possible to have frags? What are frags? What is war? Is it like, I don't know what's going on here.
So my question to you while you're going in on Nip would be then, do you feel that this, because maybe it's both, actually. They're not mutually exclusive. But do you feel this team is having a tactical failure, or they are simply having a failure of application, i.e. aiming, you know, that kind of thing?
Both.
So it is both.
Like first and foremost, if you gave me this lineup of players, I couldn't make you a lineup that would win the World Championship and be the best team in the world. I don't think it's possible. Lineups have their time. It's very rare, actually, in CS history that the same lineup stayed together, was the #1 team, dropped off, and ever went back to #1 again. I've made this point in the past on other shows. Almost every great team in history is spurred by a roster move. As in, it's actually a myth even that teams get better and gradually improve and all that sort of thing. If you look at it, usually they're adding players along the way. Usually, as soon as you get the right lineup, almost immediately you're triggered to the top, because whatever was holding you back, once you fix it, it's only a couple of tweaks in the team to get to the top then. So first and foremost, I don't think they have the personnel. That's why I always go to roster moves. Now, in terms of the other aspect, the tactical aspect, they've had like 3 years, mate. What, have they not tried everything? Have they really never tried doing different strategies? Have they never tried getting a tactician in who can give them tactics there? What I've heard, I'll give you my little own behind the scenes info, is that these guys don't want to do tactics. They don't even understand how tactics in CSGO work. They think it's 2012, and if Freiburg holds this one position every round, it's just his job to get kills, which is what I'm saying, mate. I'm actually accepting their premise, their worldview, and then using my explanation from there as to what they have to do differently. If it was up to me, what I would have done ages ago is got someone like Fifth Laren, got someone like Threat, someone along these lines, paid them a king's ransom, just had them come in and say, like if you have a really good company, but it's starting to fail, you bring in that genius CEO who turns companies around. You say, listen, we'll do whatever it takes. You tell us, like you reorganize the staff. You tell us if we need to change roles and have this guy do this. You bring up the marketing strategy, and then we just do whatever you say. That's the part that, as far I can tell, Nip have never been willing to do. They want to win on their own terms. As a result, they lose on their own terms.
Yeah, and I agree with that, actually. I mean, one of the things that I've brought up numerous times, and I know you agree with this, actually, is the sort of introduction of Natu as a coach. I think Natu's a great guy. You know, I like him. I know you like him as well. But the idea that anybody sits in that booth and tells the Nip players how to play strikes me as ridiculous. I don't think any of them would acquiesce to that. So it makes me wonder, what is his role ultimately within the organization?
Well, that's because that exactly gets to the core point of what you were describing before. Yep. When you described it, right, not only did that, what's funny is they tried to talk like it was a tactical issue. They never actually made any good tactical points. All they did try to explain how someone could not have played badly yet not got a frag, essentially, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that 5 people are doing that on the map also is a bit of a problem. Where did they go? Bomb site C? We weren't covering that one. Like, that part doesn't make any sense. But again, Nip aren't here, so I can't debate that with them. The point I want to make is that since they're a team who I get the sense aren't interested in changing that tactical style, I think that's why they got Natu. They're one of those teams where if you ever do an interview with them, it's never that they had the wrong tactical style. It's never that a player underperformed. They're not willing to accept that. So their reasoning has to become stuff like vague intangibles, like, well, we didn't have confidence. Well, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence if I had no fucking tactics that worked and a couple of my players sucked dick. That'd probably ruin all my confidence as well, mate. Nah, but the morale in the team wasn't good. Well, again, I wouldn't have great morale if I'm doing awesome and then this teammate over here bombs it every single time. I know he's probably going to die at the other site while I'm locking this site down. Again, I wouldn't have confidence. All these other factors, like, we have to learn how, we have to like get this Nip spirit back and all these like vague things that just don't make any sense, like in that world, that's where Natu can probably help them. Because the thing with Natu is, so his whole career, he's been like a glue guy. He's the guy where he can sort out like arguments between players. Like he can figure out which guy needs encouragement, which guy needs like a little bit of prodding. For that stuff, man management, I've no doubt he does a great job. The problem is, like I say, I don't think it's possible with this core to win. So if anything, the fact that they're still getting top placings, I think he's doing his job. If you want him to do tactical stuff, I know that he could do some. Now listen, he's not some tactical mastermind. He'd admit that. But he could do more than Nip's doing now. I get the sense that Nip isn't interested in that. They think, again, they're not willing to consider that these are the problems. They think they know the problem. Here's the genius of it, Rich. They're telling you essentially, oh, we know why our team's fucked. And I mean, you could just go, then why don't you win? No, but can you tell Thorin again about the stats? Like, you know what I mean? Like, fucking win yourself, motherfucker. Guess what? You win, all these conversations go away. So you know all you have to do? Your own job. You know that one that people pay you money for?
Is it not harsh though to in a much more evolved CSGO scene?
Why is it harsh though?
No, not what you're saying. I mean, to for everybody collectively to have an expectation. Okay. Like, I don't think okay, maybe Fnatic sort of disproved this a little bit, but with the emergence of TSM, perhaps not. I think the idea of like a dynastic team like NIP ever emerging again in the CSGO scene, I think that's just hyper unrealistic. And I'll agree with you. I don't think that thought process has actually entered into Nip's minds. I think they genuinely believe that they can get to a place with that lineup where they can have a prolonged, sustained period of success. Which
that's how delusional they are, mate.
Yeah, and I don't believe that, and I know you definitely don't.
Well, here's the thing. That can happen. There can be dynastic teams. There will be. But they will be very rare, just like the original Nip was. And they won't just be because of the players and because of the style. It'll be because of everything, like the metagame of what you're playing and who you're playing against, how fast people adapt to what you do, what maps are even available at the time. That can be a considerable factor. All these things have to come together. But the problem is, you find this throughout esports history. The people who are in the middle of that, who are the players, they always think these vague things. Like they think to themselves, well, I always used to practice really hard. And, I was always trying my best. Oh, but you know what? Now that I'm winning, I feel really confident, right? It's about confidence. It's about having my mind in the right place. And so when they start to drop off, even if sometimes it's literally like a tactical reversal, like someone's completely nailing everything you're doing and you need to change, they keep thinking like, no, it's just because I missed that shot. Like normally I would have hit that shot and that would have opened the round. They don't realize the shot got 2 times harder because their positioning's better or they flashed you a second earlier. There's all these things that you have to be able to think outside yourself to know what these problems are, which is where, by the way, a coach would be great, because if you let him, then he's the guy who in theory can do this, whereas your players, they're stuck in this system that you have of how it's going to work. The problem here is, here's the reason why my criticisms sound harsh, while other people's are all like, oh, Nip's trying their best, maybe they can get back there, because I don't ever expect Nip to win again. Nip could have won this tournament here, right? They can win tournaments. They could have won this one here, but it would have taken everything to go right. They needed Dignitas to beat Titan twice. They needed MouseSports to beat Virtus.Pro, and then they needed EnVyUs to lose to Dignitas. And one of those 3 things they needed didn't happen.
Yeah.
So they needed 3 things to happen just for them to win a tournament. Now, that's not going to happen very often, but okay, it's possible they could win some tournaments. Now, add in Fnatic TSM, it's even more unlikely they're going to win, you're getting sort of 5 or 6 things have to happen now. So Nip could win the odd tournament. Nip, I'll say it right now, with this lineup of 5 players, NIP will never be the #1 team in CSGO again. Now, that's not some sort of crazy statement to me. That's just an obvious fact. Like, History bears it out. There's no possible reasoning I can see that would say it's not the case, you know? So as a result, my expectation is not that NiP will win. My expectation is like what we had at this last tournament. They can make the final if they get the right bracket. They can probably make top 4 of most tournaments. Every now and then, there might be certain opponents they even have a good matchup against. Like, for all I know, maybe if they play Fnatic again, every now and then they have a good map against them. Hey, maybe they can even get some wins off Fnatic. But they're not going to beat EnVyUs, probably not going to beat VP. You know, in general, I think it's pretty known what the situation is. So the problem for me, it comes from NiP players and NiP fans. They're the ones who still imagine this is 2012, that you can turn things around. I don't think it's going to happen myself. So to me, it's not an issue, by the way. I don't sit up at night like, oh God, what can NiP do? A team isn't good enough to win anymore, refuses to change all their problems. Great. You know what? Let's go the other way, Rich. Here's a situation that I sometimes do in League of Legends when I get frustrated with idiot teams, like, for example, TSM in League of Legends. When TSM make a move that I think is stupid, like when they added that guy Glebe, who's a support player, right, who hadn't even played at the top level before, and this top League of Legends team, one of the top 2 in NA, added this support player out of nowhere as kind of like a Hail Mary, like, hey, this guy might be the next great player. I watched him play a few, and I was like, this guy's never going to be that good. He's like, okay, and he's never going to, you know, the team's gotten worse because they've lost one of their best players. Everyone else was like, no, they're going to do really well. If they'd have kept that player, I guarantee you they'd have never won another title. I don't think they'd ever even made another final. I don't think they've gone to Worlds. Their team would have essentially become a middling team, right? Problem is, they didn't. Eventually, they changed that player. They got a much better player. They got a player with a veteran player with a lot of tenure. And they got the pieces, they got a right coach, and they became the best team in NA again. So what I used to say as a joke was, nah, if you guys think the Glebe guy's great, awesome. Let's sign him up for 3 years. You guys play with him every single game for 3 years. I couldn't be happier, mate. Same scenario with NiP. You know what? If NiP really believe in all their teammates so much, and I'm totally wrong, and it's all just about the strategies and how someone rotates. Here's the idea, guys. Let's all make a pact that we're not going to change this NiP lineup for the next 2 years and play every tournament with this lineup, because I'd fucking love it. I mean, you guys must love it as well. So let's have fun. Bitches leave. That's what I say to NIP.
Right, so just final thought on NIP, and then we'll move on. Because, you know, I don't want us to be the NIP roast, although we probably has gone past that point. There was talk at the time of Natu being brought in as almost like a quarterback caller, sitting behind the team and calling the strats for them. This was explored as a possibility when GetRight he relinquished his duties as caller, and it went back to exist. Is that something that could work? Is that something that you feel they should try?
So they should definitely give it a try. At this point in time, in theory, NiP's tried everything. Now, they haven't, because as I mentioned, they haven't actually done this big tactical overhaul. That's the main thing they should have tried a long time ago when they dropped off. They should definitely try it, because the biggest problem NiP has is that Alu actually turned out to be a pretty good player. If Alu had come into this lineup and played even only, say, like 20% better than Forrest or Freiburg, all the scum that play in NiP and that are NiP fans would have been like, fuck Alu, get him out. He's the reason we're not winning. We used to win championships with Viflaren. But unfortunately, Alu fucking blew the doors off for like the first 3 or 4 tournaments in a row, was rocking it, winning all these amazing rounds, doing top-notch performances. So what's great about that is it proved that obviously some of the other players are the issue. So in that sort of scenario, unless you're going to make the roster move, which apparently they're not going to, yeah, why not at least try a totally different tactical style? The one you've got right now, either it works for you and you don't mind finishing 2nd and 4th, which is fine for me, or you want to win, you want to go for broke, then try something different. Even if it goes worse, you know, then again, it's error checking. You find out what the problems are, right? Well, maybe we can't even execute new tactics. So we need players who can do that sort of thing, you know.
And I've always said as well, it's interesting. I got pilloried for this. I still maintain, and I know the players disagree on this front as well, but I still maintain that as good as Alu was, if they had kept Makalele, I think they are a better team. I think they're further forward. The last time they looked capable of winning something was when he was in the lineup. I mean, and you remember that the MLG event where they had him, yeah. And you remember, obviously, that they did Asus Republic of Gamers Winter, and they won that with him. That was the last time I remember a NiP team looking really convincing.
The problem with that is Makalele himself has never looked as good before or after as he was in NiP. So, unfortunately, I have to give NiP some credit in as much as, since they didn't have him for that long, they only had him for something like 4 tournaments.
Yeah.
It's hard to know that would have continued, essentially. Like, part of me thinks he overperformed the first couple a little bit. I think he just basically had some games that were like, I don't think he would replicate them that often. Now, if that NiP team could exist again, I thought as a team they were better. But Alu is a better player than Makaleli. So the bigger problem here is they would have always eventually come to the position they're in now, which is that it's not about that fifth guy. It's also about some other people in the team and the style of the team. So if anything, maybe it would have helped a little bit. I think here's the weird thing. I think they might have been less consistent, but they might have had a little bit more explosive power. So maybe they could have won a small tournament, but I don't think they would ever become number one even with Makaleli. So to me, it's not even that big a deal. The bigger deal is the fact that you could never consider removing other people. So there's something to it, but I don't know if it's it's not necessarily the panacea.
Yeah, well, we'll wait and see what happens. I mean, there are Swedish people out there that could slot into that team and add something. I think, I was just recently sort of researching the history of LGB, and of course, some of those players are still sort of out there, twisting.
I'm sure we're going to talk about one today, mate.
It's
so obvious, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. We're definitely going to get to that. But just quickly before we do, to wrap up the Gfinity talk, I think it's only fair that if we're going in on NIP and they made a final, we should probably also look at Virtus.Pro, who were immensely disappointing throughout the tournament. 2-0'd by MouseSports, then 2-1'd by them later. Struggled against Cloud9. Didn't look anything like the team that had this ridiculous run of online form in the ESL, ESEA Pro League, where they finished joint on points with Fnatic. And what particularly stood out for me was Snax was abysmal, especially compared to his usual high standards. So just some thoughts about what was going on with Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, Virtus.Pro looks bad right now. The problem with Virtus.Pro is that I don't judge them as harshly as a team like NiP, because NiP consistently has these problems. Every tournament you see these issues, and they're around a similar sort of range every time. The thing with Virtus.Pro is they've always been a really explosive team. Like their middling level used to be like a solid top four every time, and then on the odd day they could win a championship. Now it's gotten much worse. 2015's actually been overall quite a poor year for them. I think they've only had something like 3 or 4 tournaments that they placed well in. Yeah. And obviously 2 of those they managed to win amazingly. So the weird thing about their team is their bad day, their B and C and D game can be quite poor actually, and they could lose to anyone in the top 8, top 9. So that has to be said. They weren't that great here, and obviously getting beat by Mouse, they even got beat by a team who just beat them on their own maps, beat them tactically, just actually soundly beat them. If MouseSports had all-star players, that might have been a complete dropping. So that's not good. But I'm not quite panicking entirely with Virtus.Pro yet, because I feel like if you give them 2 more tournaments, there's going to be one where I think they'll have a strong run, and it'll be something like Gfinity, the one before, Spring Masters 2, where they go all the way to the final and they can contend for the title. I don't think it's quite the end for them yet.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll wait and see how that one pans out. Certainly, I think, and this is no disrespect to Taz, who I believe is on it. I've heard that he's on it. He was one of the better players. Like him and Bialy were probably like the players that were sort of.
It is true that Snax was terrible at his one tournament. I don't think he's ever been as bad. So that's also another issue. Do you think that'll continue tournament to tournament? Now, if it does, hey, then we can talk about removing him. But again, I wouldn't pull the trigger and remove the best player right now.
No. Of course, him and Bialy, completely changed that team. I mean, Pasha didn't really have any impact. I think Neo had like maybe one map and where he looked godlike again, and that might have been the one where they that might have been the Cloud9 one actually. But it was a strange tournament for Virtus.Pro. They were my pick. I felt the run of form they had, and London's a second home to them in a lot of ways. They should have been able to do a lot better than they did. They seem to bow out.
I thought they were going to make the final. Like I thought, and I had EnVyUs winning, but I thought with the way the bracket went that Virtus.Pro would get out instead of MouseSports, then they would beat NiP in a close game. So I thought VP should be top 2, and obviously it's very shocking they got in the group, like not even the semis.
Yeah. So just the other team, just briefly to talk about. We should probably. I mean, actually, there is 2. I don't want to. We've already probably ran over how much time I allotted for the segment, but fuck it. Let's just keep going. Titan. Yeah. I mean, is this rock bottom? Yeah. Is this rock bottom for them?
Unless they've got a fucking mining hat and some access to some caves or something. Because where else are you going to go at this point, mate?
Well, okay. So where do you place them in your top 10? Are they down as far as 10th yet?
No, they haven't changed place, actually. When I looked over the rankings, the problem is, since I do my rankings on a 3-month basis, Titan, towards the first half of that 3 months, still have a whole bunch of like top fours. They're making the odd final here and there. They're getting best of 3 wins over Fnatic. You know, good teams. I don't think it was TSM. I think there's someone else that they got a big best of win over. So the problem there is that, yeah, every now and then in the earlier days, they did have a bit of magic. The problem, like, what magic have you seen recently from them? It's been at least 2 or 3 tournaments since we saw anything worthy of a team in the top 6 or 7, you know. So they're going to be dropping down soon.
I mean, I certainly feel that perhaps some of the, you know, like I think some of the criticisms aimed at Nip, you know, I can get on board with most of them. I think some might be a little bit harsh, like almost like their success kind of colors how we view them when we're analyzing them, because they've been winners in the past. But here's a team I will not pull any punches with at all, Titan, because the way to fix the problems are so abundantly clear. And any organization worth their salt should be just like, yeah, that's the way to go. You know, we talk about armchair analysis, but this is just obvious, and it's obvious to everybody. Existence hasn't made a significant contribution to the frag charts. When he does, it's like this rare anomaly. Like, it just stands out. His playbook strats are brilliant, and typically they tend to do better when they've already finished for a day, can go to a hotel, strategize specifically for an opponent, and then come into a tournament. And then you're like, wow, look at this Titan. But then that fades off. He doesn't seem to read on the fly particularly well anymore. So that guy needs to be the coach. End of story. What does Niak actually do in that fucking booth? He hands them energy drinks. That's it. Like, he hands them energy drinks and says, let's all remain calm, guys. That's not coaching. That's not coaching by a long distance. That's almost like being like a mascot. So you put Existence in a position where he can look at 5 monitors at once. You've got God mode there. Like, you could have him coach any team. I guarantee you he would improve their results within the space of 1 tournament. He understands the game that well. But where the mind is willing, the flesh is definitely weak. He can no longer deliver as a player. That's just a fact. You add to that, they've got this specter of the whole Maniac thing about whether he's going to take a full-time job or whether he's going to commit. You need to just sit him down and be like, look, which one is it? But, I mean, again, that might be he's uncertain about whether to commit because he doesn't want to commit to this idea that we're going to stand by Existence as a player until he wins a major, which is never going to happen, by the way. That's done. That dream is over. You need to accept we don't always get the fitting sign-offs to our career that we wanted.
Well, NIP's shown us that, mate.
You know, but like he's holding out for he's holding out for a fairy tale ending to a story. And it's just ridiculous that you're dragging the whole team down to do that. So I definitely won't pull any punches on that. You add to the fact that, you know, Kenny S, why isn't he able to deliver the same levels of consistency? He's saying it's a confidence issue, right? And it's a confidence issue because they're losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to. Now, while we're doing this show, Titan have just dropped a map to Penta online. Dust 2, no less. They are in freefall like I have never seen a team in freefall. And there was a tweet, I think, from Maniac where it said that was like the harshest debriefing we've ever had after a tournament, after Gfinity. Let's see if the actions match up to the words. I'm guessing they're not going to. Because where are the changes? So, I know you're a Titan fan. This must hurt you, you know, most of all. But seriously, at this juncture...
Actually, that's one of the areas where I'm very different to fans. That's why I don't usually describe myself as a fan of a team. I just say I like a team. Because actually, what's interesting is I'm as harsh on teams that I like as teams that I don't like. So I'm not going to give a massive example here, but in League of Legends, my favorite player, Flame, the top laner of CJ Blaze, CJ Blaze used to be the team I disliked the most because they totally misused that player, didn't put the right talent around him, stuck with a style that wasn't working for like 2 or 3 seasons. And so I could see how they held him back. Now, the fact that I wanted him to do well didn't make me suddenly like ignore all that and go, no, this is brilliant. Oh, I hope next season that one mistake doesn't happen. No, I could see exactly the problems, and that's what frustrated me the most. So when I look at Titan, yeah, there's a lot of problems. My big issue in Titan is I'm not sure how they solve them. Like, for example, when I look at their team, yeah, Existence is a huge problem. Like, it was up to me, it'd be great if we could remove him from the lineup. And what I mean by that is make him like a coach who could talk in the mic. Now, the only problem I can see there is I'm not certain that every tournament still actually allows you at the moment to speak on the mic if you're a coach. Some of them just make you stand behind without a headset. Some of them that's not maybe even allowed, you know. If that's allowed for every tournament, okay, that's now worth it. Let's experiment. Let's see if it works, you know. Hey, if it goes wrong, we can always put him back in the lineup, right? If he's in the org. So that would be worth a try. But that assumes that every tournament allows that. Because if a tournament doesn't allow that, now we need his tactics to be triggered by someone else in the game. Now that's where you've got an issue right there. I don't know who else in the lineup could actually do that. We've never seen them really try. Apparently Apex calls some things, but I get the sense that's more just that he's the entry fragger, and sometimes he just maybe he can trigger something very quickly with information he gets when he comes in a bomb site, you know. So the bigger problem there is move past existence. Who admittedly, yeah, like I said, if you can do it, that's a good move to make right there.
Well, yeah,
the other problem is, what if it turns out he is doing some kind of in-calling in the game that doesn't work as well when he's outside of the game? Like, no one ever thinks of that. But it's the same scenario that happened in League of Legends with a team called Cloud9. They had this guy who was a brilliant shot caller, and their whole team was based on these amazing shot calls where if they were behind in a game, he'd make exactly the right sort of trade as to what to do in this situation, or he'd kind of plan 2 steps ahead on how to get back into a game. When they removed him, they put in a significantly stronger player and got worse as a team because they didn't have any of the shot calling, and now that player was stronger, but he wasn't like some superstar. So again, if Titan replaces existence, who are they going to put in and what kind of fragging is he going to deliver? Because it's probably going to have to be someone pretty good when you consider fragging is definitely something they lack. So if they can get someone like that, sure, let's go for it. So now the other issue to me is that the other 4 players, believe it or not, the 2 who are doing their job, who are doing a bang-up job, is Maniac and RPK. They both do their job every game. Maniac is above and beyond the numbers I would expect from a support player and someone of his skill set. I think he does a really good job. RPK is just really stable. He just does, he goes to his spots. He's never going to get like 4 kills in a round. He's going to get the 1 or the 2 kills, but in exactly the same sort of situations again and again. I love that. You can build a team around that. Those 2 players is fine. The problem is, because existence sucks, and then those 2 players in general aren't star level talent, you've got 3 of the 5 in the team who aren't close to ever being able to put you go head to head with the stars of the other team. So now the people who have to do that is Apex and Kenny S. Now the problem here is Kenny S, it's obvious to look at him and go, he's not as good as he was before. And also, he's not the best player in the server anymore, which was always kind of the ace Titan had up their sleeve. The problem here is we can't cut Kenny S, can we? Because first of all, there's no one we can replace him with. Secondly, Kenny S is so good when he's on that you just have to gamble that eventually he's going to become good again. Like, I'm sorry, he's so good. It's like if you have erectile dysfunction, right? At no point in your treatment is the option going to be, why don't just cut it off? It's like, well, then we have no chance, isn't it, mate? So if we get rid of Kenny S, if we cut our dick off, we're never going to be having sex again, mate. There's no prosthetic dick that you can put on. You could either Kenny S succeeds and we get good again, or we're just never going to be the best again. We're not going to get a Kenny S level player. They're all in envy ones in that level.
Can I just highlight? That is probably the most ridiculous analogy you've ever used in your entire career.
I don't give a fuck, mate. I'm going with it. Okay, so anyway. So now that leaves 1 player. And now here's the player I'm going to be the most harsh on.
Yeah.
It's Apex, actually. Because Apex still will have these flashes of brilliance where he does things that are actually, to a degree, kind of genius. Like the ability to just make these amazing plays. And sometimes his aim can be absolutely nuts. But in general, he has not delivered the goods for the last 4 months in this team. Maybe more. Maybe all of 2015. He's had the odd tournament where he was good above the numbers. But I've seen some games where he was really bad despite a phenomenal skill set as a player and some really good instincts. I described it on Twitter, I think during one of their losses, maybe the Dignitas loss. I said, the thing about Apex is we always used to describe him as inconsistent, but he's actually not. What he is he's the most skilled bad player in Counterstrike Go. Like, there's no player that performs worse than him that is as skilled as him. I can't think of a single one in the entire world because he has the skill set to be a top 10 player in the world. But at the moment, he's like the 50th best Pro CS player. And so when that's your second best player, how are you ever going to win? I mean, forget tactics. You can't execute a tactic when you've got your star player isn't firing on all cylinders anyway. Your second star player is the 50th best player in the whole game. Your in-game leader is going to go -10 for sure in the match. And then the other 2 just do their job and get all the blame. So Titan as a whole, it's a systemic problem. Everything is wrong with that team.
But I mean, the one problem we've talked about is, like, you know, they can't even reach out to French players at this juncture and bring them in. You know, I don't know where you would go for replacements. Like, EnVyUs aren't going to give them a player. That ain't happening. And most of the players on EnVyUs are there because they have rejected existence in the past, and there's bad blood still there. So you've got
what?
that
I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
There's two things you can do. You can do what Titan already did, which is that you wait and hope that EnVyUs bombs enough that eventually they make a roster move. That's still not totally implausible, but them just rocking Gfinity doesn't exactly help, does it? Like, they're not going to remove anyone right after that tournament, so you probably delayed the whole process 3 more months, and you can't wait 3 months if you're Titan. You're never going to win a big tournament with this lineup. So at this point in time, the reason why you can't make a roster move, we all know is, well, there's no other top players, right? Except Scream, and he's in Kinguin, and we tried that. Okay, I get that. It's true, you did try it already. I wouldn't say Scream's the way to go. At this point in time, everyone was saying, hey, well, why not try one of those guys from like LDLC White, that team that almost beat EnVyUs at DreamHack Tours? Now, here's the thing. It's very unlikely any of those team players will turn out to be really, really good. But at this point, like we've discussed with Nip, like we discussed with the others, why not gamble? What are you going to lose if you don't do it at this point in time? Why not take RPK if you really have to kick out someone, if you're not going to kick out a star? If I was going to kick out a star, I'd probably kick out Apex, if I'm being honest. I'd kick out Apex, get one of those players that seems the most skilled from that team and seems the most like malleable, like he's open to changing his abilities so he can fit in Titan, you know? And let's go to work. Let's try it out. If it goes terribly, who gives a fuck, mate? You're finishing in group stages of tournaments now. You're not getting close to winning them. So I'd give it a gamble if I would. I mean, you've exhausted every option, right?
I mean, you know, there's still old school French and Belgian players that could come back into the team as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't buy the idea that there's no new talent. Like,
No,
I'm sure most of it's
I don't
probably not
either.
that good, mate. But there must be one player out there. Come on, so let's start the search. You know, let's start Star Search
Well, I agree with you.
2015 with Existence.
What makes this hilarious is actually that Existence was one of the guys that used to bring through young talent and used to take gambles on young talent. He was the guy that brought MBK through. You know, like MBK was just a kid when he went into very games and didn't have any big game experience. You know, I'm pretty sure that Kenny S owes a huge debt to him as well in terms of discovery. Like, the one thing Existence did have an eye for was talent. So, I mean, again, just another reason for me to maybe make him have that backward step. He's not having to scrim so much with his team and practice and stuff. He can just give them the look, work on these while I go away, and he can watch some demos of some young and upcoming players. Maybe, you know, have some open trials or something. I think there's so much more to Existence. It's just so frustrating that he wants to be a player and wants to win this one last major, just one last major to retire on. Really seems to be hurting Titan at this point. And just to go from the bad to the good, and then that's definitely it. We'll kill Gfinity dead. We won't talk about it anymore. Let's just pay homage to MouseSports, who I thought had a great breakout tournament from them. I said I believed they were the weakest team there. They proved me wrong by quite some distance. I don't think anyone could have anticipated how well they were going to do. But in particularly, you had Next.
Yeah, by the way, just as a quick point, everyone who's a Cloud9 fan who was like, they dominated NA. Look, why are you hating on them? Mate, MouseSports had a better tournament than them by far. And you know the excuse that Cloud9 has is, well, we played EnVyUs and VP. So did MouseSports.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Yeah.
So, if anything, that highlights how good MouseSports were.
Now let that, you know, I know for a fact, like Chris is a little bit like, oh, when's the online J thing going to end? It's got to be said now at this point. He had an amazing series against Virtus.Pro. He was like the top fragger for MouseSports when they 2-0'd them. But the one thing I think we can now say is it's not that he's an onliner. He's just actually inconsistent. I think that's just fair to say now.
It's just not good. I just don't think he's ever going to be a top player. He's like a good player, above average for a pro. That's enough.
Well, I'm going to... Yeah, so
I wouldn't like remove him first of all or whatever, you know, but I don't think he's ever going to be a star player, put that way.
No, I'm gonna reserve judgment to see how the Gobby regime goes, because Gobby's very well drilled. He's notoriously developed players that he plays with. I know Chris J's been playing with him a while, but I get the feeling this MouseSports team is actually, this is a very different entity. This isn't going to change. This is going to be a roster that stays together and will probably get better and improve. But it's got to be said, I mean, like, what Gobby did, like, certainly he's still a weak player in terms of what he delivers on the server, although a deceptively high 1v1 clutch rate, which we talked about might be a misleading statistic. But what he's done for MouseSports in terms of tactics, I thought they were one of the tactically the most strong team at Gfinity. Just speaking about pure tactics.
Yeah, I don't think that's really even debatable, especially because what was crucial about the way they played was they played totally different teams, and they changed the style of how they were playing against each different style of opponent, and to a degree had success. Now against NIP, admittedly, that 1-2 map, because it's the last of the tournament, makes it look really bad, like wow, they weren't in it at all. But if you have to realize, aside from that, they basically had no map that they weren't in against every opponent. Every single map they were in against totally different styles of team. That's actually incredible, and you can only do that through tactics. Because remember, they don't have like an Olafem. They don't have Simple playing in their lineup who's just bodying everyone. They don't really have anyone who's some godlike player. They have a player who's a breakout player who's very good. Next, he looks like he could be something in the future. But even him bodying wasn't just going to carry them through these games, you know. So yeah, I think you have to give a lot of credit to the overall approach of the team.
Yeah, and of course, Nex, who was, I mean, outside of EnVyUs, probably the best rifler at the tournament.
I think the best 3 players in the tournament, no exaggeration, were literally Chocks, Pimp, and Nex. I think it was those 3. I mean, it turns out in terms of stats,
how can I forget Pimp? How can I forget Pimp? My bad.
But just watching with your own eyes, those were just the 3 best players, and it's no surprise that all 3 of those teams, each of their teams, like, almost overperformed at certain times in the tournament, you know. Shocks won the final without losing a map. Dignitas almost made the final in the tournament they had no business to, with 3 better teams there. And MouseSports made the semi-final in the tournament where I thought they were going to finish last place as well, mate.
So let's get into the news. That's the end of Gfinity. It was a good event. We've managed to hit the alleged salt mine of Thorin's thoughts there. Did you want to fire any shots at the end at Cloud9 just to do the full repertoire?
I think if they just look at their own lives, there's all the shots that they need right there, mate.
Awesome. Great stuff. So
I'm sure they can fucking dry their tears like Woody Harrelson, like fucking nip, like, we get paid all this money and every fan sucks our dick, but the one guy in the world won't suck our dick. Like, why? It's so unfair. Get out my face. Bitches leave.
So let's talk about the news. This is the one. I already made a video about this. I know you've got some thoughts about this. CSGOTTEN leaving Kinguin after a bout.
For that. Let's hope we never have to say his name again, mate.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that sentiment. But CSGOTTEN leaving Kinguin. This was the player that was the in-game leader. He was by a lot of people considered the weakest player. I don't think that's even an argument. He had a bout of illness just before they went into the Gamers Paradise qualifiers, and they replaced him with NiKo, who's like a MouseSports reserve player from Bosnia. He came in, absolutely smashed the tournament, was like one of their strongest players. They wrecked Flipside, qualified for the tournament, and then basically CSGOTTEN decides to leave, is how it was framed. But obviously, I think he was told he was surplus to requirements. Now, this is a little bit of history repeating itself for him. You know, he's been in teams with big name stars before, perhaps most notably LGB, although recently Team Orbit had some of those big Swedish people in there. But in that LGB lineup, you know, you had Olafem, you had Crims, you had Twist, I think he played alongside as well. And then basically when he was removed from that team, the team improved markedly. And this is perhaps something that's dogged his career. Does the move surprise you, and what do you think about it?
I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, because the theory behind having CSGOTTEN was the idea that he was going to be the in-game leader, and he would be you have so many people who in theory have been the star of their team, that he would be like the team play aspect. Now, if you saw Kinguin, they had no team play, and if they had tactics, I won't say they won't have any tactics, they couldn't execute, put it that way. Like, it wasn't a lineup that was suited for that style. So as a result, if you're going to be Kinguin and you're going to become last place with all these stars anyway, just go for broke. Just make it literally the all-star pug team, and just get players and just go try and frag. That's basically your only chance to win the game. So that makes sense. Then also, when you consider the person that they replaced him with, that's barely even a gamble. He's already going to give you what CSGOTTEN gave you, and probably, well, potentially more. So the two things combined, yeah, it's not that surprising a move, and it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with this move.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with you. But I mean, okay, so now they're bringing in Dennis, who obviously has played alongside CSGOTTEN before. He was one of the guys, if people remember, in that LGB team when Olaf Meister was like wrecking people and was standing out as like some sort of ridiculous talent. The other guy who was fragging on a level with him was Dennis. Like, he was the guy that was like, you know, wow, this guy's amazing. And then he's been twisting in the wind for a little bit. Hasn't been associated with any decent teams. Recently, he was in ESEA, the ESEA mix that got put together for the Fragbite qualifiers. Took him out off EnVyUs, by the way, out of nowhere, in just some random Swedish mix team. So he's a very good player. He was being brought in as a stand-in. It's been announced today that he has signed a full-term contract. There was no doubt that that wasn't going to be the case. But here's the thing. So now that he's come in, he's not going to be like some super hard in-game leader. They haven't replaced an in-game leader with an in-game leader. So and this happened in LGB. There was a period of time when CSGO left where they just played this sort of loose style where it was almost like we do tactics by committee. Is that so? Let's presume they do the same in Kinguin. Is that going to help them or is that going to hurt them?
No, that's what's ideal. Here's the thing: he was the in-game leader, but the thing is, he was a very loose in-game leader. Like he was even more extreme than exist. Like they had, except that they did have some tactics. Like what they did is they basically they were a run and gun team, but they had tactics based around that. So it's not like sometimes Nip and EnVyUs don't even throw more than 1 or 2 flashes when they enter a bomb site. It's actually crazy that these teams have had any success in this area. But that just shows how styles, if you fit the style to your personnel, you can get the most out of that style. LGB had that sort of style. So actually for this lineup, it's ideal. You want exactly that because these aren't guys who are going to have super synergy and great team play and all the rest of it. But the one thing in theory a bunch of them can do is click heads. So let's base strategies around getting them in positions where, hey, let's make it more chaotic. Let's play faster paced. Let's swarm a site and use our aim to advantage when it's chaotic situations. So that's all a good idea. Now, it's not going to transform them into a top team. I still doubt they're going to get in the top 8 or the top 7. That's probably not going to happen still. But hey, it's a good gamble because actually the thing was, he's basically probably the biggest loss that CSGO's ever had as a player. There's no player who retired who at the time of retiring could have been more and was more before he retired than Dennis, actually. He's the player where basically Nip should have recruited him. Should have recruited him now, should have recruited him 6 months ago, should have recruited him 9 months ago, should have recruited him when Flaren went to shit. If they need an in-game leader, they should have recruited him. Hey, he even fits their style. Like, basically, he's a guy who should have been in teams. Now, presumably the reason he wasn't, the sense I get, is because first of all, that whole deal with Alliance or whatever when they were LGB apparently fell apart. Then he got his problem was, unlike everyone else, part of the reason why everyone else stays in the scene and never retires is because a lot of these people are kind of losers in real life. Like they've given up so much to be CS players, they're not really going to do anything else. Like their option is go and work in a hi-fi store. Well, I don't even know if people have hi-fis anymore, but you know what I mean? In theory, that's not such a great job compared to even being in the 7th best CS team. So you always stick around, you get to be a big deal there. And unfortunately, this Dennis guy quit at the time when it's true. CSGO was basically 3 months from blowing up when he retired. And by retiring, he instantly went into a real job. And so then at the time, well, there was no teams knocking on his door immediately when CS blew up. So at the time, yeah, it's true. All the factors do make sense from a step-by-step process. But if you look back now, you really do say, oh, dude, if you'd have just waited 6 months, you might be one of the best players right now. You might be in Fnatic. All these things that could be going your way. So actually, I think it's great that he's coming back. I'm really excited for this. I'm not usually that excited for comebacks because they usually don't work. But because he didn't, here's the key thing, because he didn't go out on shit terms, it's not like he became bad and retired. I think this has one of the best chances of a comeback to work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he does. We've seen some returns after hiatuses that haven't worked. RPK immediately springs to mind. But I think this is a very different prospect. And, of course, he's got the added bonus of the player that he's replacing is so unspectacular in almost every way that I don't think he can necessarily look worse. It
also helps that he's played with Makalele before as well. There's that one minor element. I don't think that'll be much, but it helps a little bit when you start out.
Well, I mean, so this is the other thing I wanted to sort of theory craft a little bit with you. We've already seen that Kinguin are okay, we're doing 2 tournaments, boom, change, right? We're gonna make a cut. Now, is this something that might become a prevalent factor in the team? I mean, we can't speak to Team Kinguin's ideologies, methodologies. They're a new organization. They've got no previous. We don't know if they're just going to be some horrible sort of results-driven, ruthless team that just, they want the success and they want the high-profile players in there.
If only they could buy Nip, is what you're saying? I agree. It'd be great. Wouldn't it? So well, get those guys the fuck out the door.
Thing is, based on the money they're paying their team. They could buy anyone almost certainly. I think if the numbers are to be believed. So, is this something that's maybe going to put a little bit of pressure on some of the existing players? Because a lot of people are saying, well, Fox hasn't been that great, and we all know Makalele can AWP, and actually Makalele, he's put down the AWP so Fox can AWP, and Makalele's playing this weird support role where he's not getting the best out of himself, and he's filling the gaps in on the map. So, is there going to be this like sort of extra pressure, something in the back of Fox's mind, or indeed any of the other players in the team that actually we're all expendable? Or do you think that sort of, well, maybe that's what they need. Maybe it can motivate them the other way.
Well, I definitely don't think that Scream and Makalele are on the chopping block right now. If anything, it's the others who have to worry a little bit, and rightfully so, because some of them, like Fox, isn't that impressive a play. If you guys in like chat and watching this VOD knew how much money Fox makes, you wouldn't cry your eyes for this guy whatsoever that he then doesn't deliver when he gets in the server. Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Someone else deserves that money if you want to use that sort of terminology. Now, that said, he's got an opportunity. Okay, fair enough. As weird as it sounds, if I was Kinguin, I probably would do what you suggested first of all. Like, every time you have bad results, just change a new player. And remember, the whole purpose for having this team, I can assume from the premise, is like exposure. Like, hey, have a lot of hype, have crazy. So hey, you know what? Make it like a show where you have a guest star every week, like the X-Files or something. And ooh, look, I bet he's going to be the villain, isn't he? I saw him as a character actor in NYPD Blue about 8 years ago. Ooh, I wonder how he did it this time, and whether Mulder will in fact kill him or take him in live. Like, oh, he's got magical powers, he'd definitely have to kill him. So basically, I think they should do it like that. And every week there should just be like a new cool player. Like, oh, look, hey, look, we've got Apex in our team for a tournament now after he got cut from Titan because they listened to what Thorin said. Oh, look, now we've got Freiburg. He was well shit in Nip, but maybe he can be good in this team. He's in the banana, yeah. Like, I think that's what they should do, Reb. A circus.
Well,
Make it like a fucking circus.
A new wave lemon dogs. I want
New
to ask
wave
you
lemon dogs. That sounds like lemon dogs or some shit, like with organs playing in the background. Okay. And the hair all coiffed up like that.
I want to ask about the NiKo stuff, because what I was told behind the scenes was Kinguin were actually going to buy him. And keep in mind, he's a MouseSports reserve player. Yeah. It would have been a big opportunity for him. He absolutely smashed it. Every time he's played, he looks ridiculously good. So much so people have questioned his legitimacy. Obviously, the game is paradise thing, just shows like, I mean, what Simple had a bad game and he was still dominating. So. But apparently, the MouseSports wanted either an unreasonable amount of money or weren't willing to sell. I mean, what do you make of all of that?
If they don't use NiKo, that is a bit fucked up. Just because, come on, man. Yeah, obviously you have the right to hold on to him, but what are you doing holding someone's career back just because someone wouldn't pay you enough or whatever? Like, that seems a bit unreasonable, and there's no way they invested that much into him. So there is that.
But I mean,
I think it'd be worth trying NiKo for sure.
But that's one of the ideas. I mean, there's a potential now because they're talking about, how they're going to switch it up, and maybe Fox might be moving to entry fragger. They're going to give Makalele an AWP back. There's this sort of weird. But I mean, another thing is, of course, you could bring in NiKo to replace Fox outright, and that would be a clear upgrade, wouldn't it? I mean, statistically, that's inarguable at this point. So, I mean, do you think Kinguin might still try and pursue that line? Or do you think they're really reliant on Fox because of his massive fan base?
The big problem is, I would hope that the reason why MouseSports wouldn't let NiKo go is they're still considering maybe they're going to bring him into their lineup. I would hope that's a possibility, and so maybe that's not why. So I just hope either way that NiKo gets in a team he can play. I think it would be good for either team, Mouse or Kinguin, if they could bring him in. It's at least something to try, Again, when you try these things out, I don't understand why people have to make it like life and death. Like, if things aren't working, yeah, you can try something out. If it doesn't work for 2 events, change it. Like, it shouldn't have to be one or the other. Like, it has to be this or it has to not be. I think part of it's all that bullshit of, like, if you add someone that has to be like, no, we'd never change team. I love all my team. Like, that sort of soap opera fantasy story. If we can get rid of that and make it like a sport. If you get a new signing and you're a really good team with a lot of money, which is what they should be, so like Real Madrid or something, even if you sign a wicked striker, if he shits the bed for 5 games, you take him out of the lineup. You put in another player who's really good. What I don't get about Kinguin is this, Rich. If they have all this money and there are all these good players out there who aren't even in top teams, why don't they just literally say, are you a really good player who wants to play for a team? We have loads of money. Why don't you come and play for our team? Instead, they get like, it's almost like they're almost a team that had the dregs of the scene, and yet they paid the most money for them. I don't get it.
Well, they just came late to the party. And this is the problem. It's like it was. I mean, there are all these good players out there.
But think about how much money they paid for that Rain guy, right? Why aren't they just beating down like Schneider and Twist Store? Like, listen, we'll pay you that much money. Just come join us now, please.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I agree with you. But maybe they didn't even know. Maybe they didn't even know who was good. I mean, this team, there definitely seems to have been a degree of input from some of the players. Like, I mean, I remember when this kind of feels like it's almost like Makalela's team in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because as far as I know, it is.
When he was the guy that was originally having negotiations with SK Gaming, and it was Kinguin that basically came in and gazumped them. I don't know why they did that. I don't know if the players reached out to Kinguin and were like, because they didn't feel they were getting a good deal from SK Gaming. I don't know if Kinguin just came in and disrupted the proceedings because they wanted to have a team. It could be a little from column A, a little from column B, actually. But the reality is this actually feels like it wasn't Kinguin came in and said, right, we want these 5 players. It was, SK Gaming are going to get a team, are they? Right, okay, well, let's just put paid to that, and we'll take the team that Makalela wants. I mean, I definitely feel this is Makalela's brainchild. That was the only reason that CSGO was in the team at all. So,
it certainly sounds like it. That's also why the line of reasoning you gave before does have some merit to it. Like, I could believe that Makaleli naively thinks to himself, I'll give up some of my aspect of my role to make the team better and be a good teammate, which is a terrible idea. Because if I'm in isolation making this lineup and I don't have to deal with any personalities, the first thing I'm doing is making sure Scream and Makaleli have all their best spots, all their best roles, and they're going to go to work. Then the others have to fit around them, I'm not going to waste time giving Fox an awesome spot,
So let's I wanted to just highlight this. Now, I don't often bring HLTV to org forums to the party, but I know you're going to like this one, Duncan. Okay. I know you're going to like this. So obviously we've talked about CSGO going, how it was predictable, probably is necessary for the team to hit its absolute, to be the best team it can be. And one fan on the HLTV.org forums made a great forum post. I'll read you some extracts. I've lost all respect for Kinguin. If Makalela can kick one of his best friends after he has gotten sick, then he can do everything. This guy seems to be a psychopath. I used to like him.
Sounds reasonable so far. Keep going.
Yeah, it's good. You enjoying this? I used to like him. Hang around on his stream. Even subbed on his channel. I'm really disappointed now. Lost all respect.
To be fair, he probably lost all hope as well. So, you don't have to stick around in this world. There's always an option. It's not illegal in every country, mate. So, just saying, I'm banned from Reddit now, by the way. So I did their little callback.
I like that, mate. Callback. Also, as well, just another nice little line in there. CSGO chose to leave exactly after he got his sickness. This is just bullshit. We all
somehow it's better in shit English, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It always is, isn't it? This is just bullshit. We all understand he got kicked. These guys seem to only care about having frag-heavy players, and this is why the project won't work out in the end. They have nobody to throw their nades. There you go. So, do you reckon we could get this guy on the show next week? And
I think we need to. The gold that could be mined from this guy's mind is just unreal, isn't it? It'd be incredible.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate.
I love the way he's shown what's great about fans. This is why fans are really important, is that 1 minute they can go from really respecting and loving you and giving you money to saying that you're a psychopath on the basis that someone was removed from your Counterstrike team. This seems reasonable. They seem like very well put together people who probably would survive in a Mad Max style scenario and not be ground into meat.
So, anyway, let's talk about GPlay. GPlay, we talked about them. They had this great sort of tournament out at Steel Series, this Bulgarian team. They obviously felt that they did do well because they took maps off EnVyUs, Hellraisers. I mean, Gamers 2, that's not much to talk about, but they had some good results, punched above their weight, got a 3rd, 4th finish, made it to the semis. So it turns out they get back from Steel Series and they're like, okay, Mr. GPlay, we want better contracts now because we have shown we are a good team. And GPlay have gone, we can't do that. We are skinned. We have no sponsors. So the team has now left GPlay and is looking for an organization. Do you think anyone's going to pick them up and take a gamble? It's always a bad sign when people are saying we're looking for an organization. Here's our email, and that gets put on HLTV. That's a bad sign. That's a sign that they don't really have any plans. But your thoughts?
I've got an idea. They could make a team called Kinguin Alpha. They would be called Alpha because they're the better team, and like the other one would be the Star B team. Like, the other one would be sort of like I'm a celebrity, get me out of here, of players who can't make it on the top teams. Then you'd have GPlay to actually deliver the goods at lands. What do you think about the idea?
I like it, mate. I mean, I think you're clearly hankering for a job with Kinguin as some sort of marketing manager.
Pay me.
It's become abundantly clear that this is your end goal.
I will also do one-off motivational seminars for teams who need to come in and just explain to them how they're going to win. You know, I'll do that as well.
But the issue I think here is like, okay, so if anything, Team Kinguin do prove this a little bit. As the talent gets locked into contracts, which are becoming more and more professionally observed, more and more well organized, you know, there's people are actually using lawyers and solicitors to get them drafted up now. People are signing long-term contracts with organizations. People are now having buyout fees. As a matter of fact, like Rain from LGB was subject to a buyout fee, quite a significant one, I believe, as well. The problem you've got if you're an organization coming in is how do you acquire any talent? You can't just roll around knocking on everyone's door like, hey, can we have your team? The Badawi factor, I believe it's called. You can't just do that. You have to, you know, so it's going to be, if you were an organization and you were seriously trying to get involved in CSGO and get your name out there, it's organizations like this that realistically you're going to be forced into taking a punt on. So could they, you know, could they look out? Could they find themselves with some reasonably sized organization that are looking to sort of get to the party?
I think their biggest problem is that no one knows who the fuck any of these players are. And I've never seen an interview with any of them. I don't know if they speak English. So therefore, the actual like deliverables for the sponsor end of things in terms of it being an international team, I think that's their biggest problem right there. In terms of actual in-game stuff, yeah, they've done some okay stuff so far. That might make sense. So maybe if someone's really desperate to get in, but actually I think with examples like Kinguin, I think some of these people have gotten a little too horny to get involved with it, and essentially they've gotten the fat chick at the end of the night who's, you know, a bit drunk, and then they've married her. They've got to take her to a Vegas chapel and married her, Rich. Like, even if you're going to do that, it's just a dalliance, you know. If anything, what you want to do, good girl from school who you always thought about, till her relationship fails, then just be there and be the ideal suitor. And so what I'm saying is just wait till some of these contracts end and then put in a really good bid for one of the other teams. Make it like in real sports. When there's a big name free agency coming up, what you do is you move cap space and you prepare like a really good offer. Like, listen, if you join my team, I'm going to get you this teammate you like. And, you know, I've watched your whole career. I think you'd have this kind of coach. You do all that stuff. And then you probably could get a really big team. Like, I'm trying to think how many now. But obviously, ones are like Dignitas, Flipside. These are people who will be available eventually and are on the rise.
I got to say, I feel that you've perhaps revealed something about your methodology when it comes to finding prospective partners here. The old Facebook.
I don't marry fat women.
No. That isn't what I'm saying. But clearly, you're not basically above a bit of the old Facebook hovering. Oh, what's that? Relationship status changed.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Yeah.
We haven't spoken ages. Duncan here.
Exactly.
With my broad shoulders and my big coats.
Listen, Rich, one day we will be dead, in the ground, dirt. All that will occupy the earth still is whatever genetic codes, whatever gametes we put out there and which spawned into other human beings. And I intend to do my job one day, sir.
Really? This is what it's all about?
No, actually, I'm probably never going to have children because fuck children. They're annoying as fuck. Whoever wants to hear or see one of those, keep them away.
It makes me just on a side.
They're sort of like the Nip fans of the world, except after 10 years they grow up and move the fuck out.
Oh man, I was going to go into the Amprag thing there, but I don't want to steal the moment. That's a perfect line to end on. So you've got that, mate. You win that round. So let's move on. The big story that is dominating the headlines. Oh, actually, go on. I'll give a little shout out to our boys. Renegades, they won the ACL Sydney 2015, beat Immunity quite comprehensively, 16-3, 16-8. It's not a surprise, is it now? I mean, Vox Eminol beating Australian teams, the ex-Vox Eminol Renegades as they are now, beating Australian teams. It's like shooting fish in a barrel a bit for them. But I guess it shows, that they're still the dominant force in their region. Any quick thoughts about that one?
I mean, it is pretty expected. Like, if anything, if they'd have lost, obviously that would be a really bad sign for them. It's pretty much assumed they should win that. From talking to all those guys, it sounds like even the circumstances in which they lost the qualifier for Face It, which is why Immunity went there instead of them in the first place, was something along the lines of I think DDoS or really late at night, some really bizarre circumstance. So it sounds like they should be the dominant team in their region. And obviously, hopefully they're going to get the fuck out of that region soon anyway. So just win all the titles on the way out and then just say, you have it, Immunity, enjoy.
Yeah, that's the way to handle it. So let's move on. Big story, this one. Okay, so for the longest period of time, this deal has been going on behind the scenes. Modern Times Group were looking to acquire ESL. There was a lot of talk about it. Oh, is it going to be a partnership? Is it going to be an acquisition? Hostile takeover? What form is it going to take? What do they want to do? Why are they doing it? Why are ESL selling up now, just when they've become an industry leader? Well, ESL have sold a majority stake. It's been announced today via press release from ESL. It's a 74% stake. And they've sold it for 78 million euros. Now, MTG, for those that don't know, again, Modern Times Group, they have TV channels in multiple countries. They've got a big presence in, obviously, the Scandic Nordic region, Eastern Europe, but they've got TV stations all over the place. And they've been talking about esports and esports broadcasting for the longest period of time. You'll often see MTG staff at esports events. They're there. They it's something they're passionate about. They were the guys who were, I think, they syndicate the NIP documentary as well when that was being broadcast. I think they might have done on one of their stations. Anyway, neither here nor there now. So basically, the management behind ESL put this statement out saying that obviously we keep 26% stake in the company. Everyone signed long-term contracts, and Ralph Reichart, the guy behind it all, said, when we founded ESL 15 years ago, our goal was to bring esports to fans all around the world and establish it as a global sport. Today, esports enjoys worldwide recognition, and now, together with MTG, it's time to take esports to the next level. We're excited to partner with MTG, who share our enthusiasm for the sport and bring an entrepreneurial
and have loads of money. Thanks for that. The money, especially the money. Is the money definitely there? Is the check cleared? Yeah, we love you, mate.
That's what
that was how the end of the statement went,
means, right? I think so. They bring an entrepreneurial commitment, aka fuck ton of money, to help make this dream come true. MTG's extensive operational network in over 100 countries will help us bring ESL and esports to many more places around the world, while allowing us to continue expanding on strong strategic local partnerships. So basically, all of the staff, all of the people in ESL are going to remain in place. Nothing's going to change too much there. I know, nightmare, eh? And MTG are going to have this sort of controlling interest. Your thoughts, first of all, on the acquisition being announced, Duncan?
I don't really know much about this or what to think of it. I mean, I'm not really sure how ESL made all the money anyway. I assume just mainly from sponsorships, like having Intel invest money, having other people like a standard sponsor deck build up ESL 1, stuff like that. But we all know a few years ago, ESL repeatedly, year on year, had cash flow problems where they would repeatedly take money from one person, which they'd been given for one event, and have to pay out a previous event with it because either a sponsor hadn't paid or sponsor's late. And so obviously there was some sort of monetary issue before. Now, if you're investing all this money, if part of that, I don't know whether it does, I'm not sure how the business works. Maybe it still has to come from the sponsor. If that in any way helps that, then that's a great thing. That's great that they have all this millions of dollars. And obviously these people are going to supposedly help them get more investments, as far as I know. I think that's supposedly the logic behind it, is that those people will then bring in more international sponsors and build up ESL that way. So that all sounds great. I can't see any negatives involved with it. That's though, referencing what I just said there though, that's why I made the joke when I saw it on Twitter, that since the MTG had bought it for 86 million or whatever, I just said MTG should delay payment for a year and then cite some kind of accounting error and be like, oh, sorry, and can you get in contact with the accountants? I mean, a sheet must have gone missing somewhere. We always pay everyone else our 86 million, so I don't know how it's happened to you this one time. Just a job for the insiders there.
So
and people who definitely did that. So fuck you, Dice Low.
So a little bit of theory crafting here, because this is my area of expertise. And I've followed this deal for quite some time. It was clearly going to go ahead. I never doubted it for a second. I had people come at me going, oh, it's on the rocks, it's on the rocks. It was clear that was misinformation that was being put out there. Very similar to the Twitch, when Twitch was acquired by Amazon. Basically, the deal was so far gone, the MTG group had an office within ESL's headquarters, and they were doing their due diligence, and everyone had to sign an NDA and say they couldn't disclose that because of German laws. So it was always going to go ahead. Now, what's interesting is the motivations behind this. Now, I can only say that this is a little bit of theory crafting, but that whether people have noticed it or not, there's been this big acquisition of talent. People have been going out and been doing this big talent land grab. If you've noticed, Twitch all of a sudden have all of these partnership managers, people who manage partners, and most of them are like players or people who do casting, commentary, hosting. Some have worked with other aspects of business before. They took a very prominent guy from Fragbite, for example. But, the typical example of this is someone like NiKo. They've got, obviously, Smix. Now, Twitch went out and bought all this talent up at a time when ESL were also equally looking to bring in as much talent as they possibly could. Think the acquisition of Chobra, things like this. And one of the theories is that because this MTG deal was going ahead with ESL, they now no longer require Twitch because MTG own a streaming platform called Viagame and have multiple, which has failed to a certain degree. You may remember they did the Hearthstone tournament exclusively with DreamHack. They did a deal with DreamHack for that. But anyway, so MTG have Viagame. They have their own streaming platform, their own streaming infrastructure. It doesn't compare to Twitch, and it certainly doesn't compare to Twitch with Amazon money, but it is there. Plus, they've got TV stations up the wazoo all over the world. Plus, they've got online TV stations. And apparently, I think that one of the things that was going on was Twitch felt a little bit threatened by this, that maybe ESL could distance themselves from it and try to just acquire some talent that maybe ESL might want to work with, might want to use to sort of keep the channels of communication open. Or certainly, if ESL weren't willing to have this sort of channel of communication with Twitch, they at least would have to use inferior talent, theoretically inferior talent. So this has actually been a big power play by ESL in negotiating this move. It's certainly going to be an industry changer. And once again, this is why so many people have been nervous about ESL having this potential monopoly. Now it's almost like they're self-sustaining under MTG. They actually don't need a third-party streaming platform anymore. That's what's been making me worried. A good sign for ESL. But
what about esports?
Yeah, but for esports, perhaps not so much. So that's why it's been making people nervous. But I don't know what you think about it. For me, I don't know if this is people being worried like they were when the exclusivity league was being talked about. But the idea of ESL being this sort of all-encompassing juggernaut that could even say to people like Twitch, well, look, we don't need you. We're not going to stream our stuff on yours. We're now going to stream our own stuff on our own platform. Perhaps even paves the way for a pay-per-view model, premium models, which I believe MTG have some examples of, not pertaining to esports, but they have other premium and pay-per-view channels. This is why I think some people in the industry are a little bit nervous about this.
I mean, I've never seen any example in esports of where exclusivity helped esports. In fact, it rarely even helps the companies that do the exclusivity. Maybe a little bit, then you never even really get to know because essentially they've just created this isolated situation where they have a factor that no one else has in play. So you don't know how that would have done elsewhere. So That is one of the downsides, is when a lot of money comes in esports, people always do this. They always head the route of shutting shit down, not working with other people, fucking people over, because that's what great people are in esports, unfortunately. Unfortunately, there aren't any really brilliant guys who want to help the world. And all that. They might tell you that, but there's not very many of those out there. There's not very many in the world, obviously, in general, but unsurprisingly, not many of them found their way into like competitive computer game LAN tournaments. So, I mean, there's probably some good and bad sides to it. The problem is I don't know enough about business to know like what this will change essentially. Do you have any idea?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is that there'll be some people out there that won't necessarily view this as a bad thing. This is a bit of devil's advocatory going on. But for example, this could mean that, the Twitch don't have this. I mean, because Twitch effectively have a monopoly right now in terms of streaming platform, although I think that was always going to change anyway, because YouTube are fucking here now, so, and a lot of esports teams and organizations are a little bit disgruntled with Twitch, don't think they're getting market value, don't think they're being treated fairly, don't think Twitch are engaging in practices that they approve of. I'm thinking about this GGA deal, for example, which definitely put a few big organizations' nose out of joint. They haven't had an option. They haven't had an option to leave. Where are you going to go? Azubu? This is like, where are you going to go? Hitbox? Obviously, you're going to stay on Twitch, even if you're not satisfied with it. So now that YouTube are here, YouTube are ahead of the curve, actually. What I didn't realize going into the E3 announcement is YouTube have already been reaching out to organizations. Like, they're going to have a big esports presence. That's definitely going to happen. But what makes this interesting is now this is like an ESL. ESL, basically, the way that it'll change is, whereas ESL were making a product and they were reliant on a Twitch or any other streaming platform to broadcast their product, and obviously had deliverables, advertising deliverables that they needed to hit, sponsorship, that they needed to deliver a certain amount of, and therefore they'd have to go to Twitch and then work out some deal there, and Twitch would be like, you got to run X amount of ads and blah, 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 and there would be some sort of negotiation here. ESL, theoretically now, in the position they're in, they don't ever need to bow the knee to anyone ever again about that. They can literally just say, we've got the infrastructure now to broadcast our own. So we can hit all our deliverables, we can meet all of our sponsorship deals, we can hit all of our numbers and have all of that prominence, and in fact, actually, maybe even drive traffic to some of MTG's failing stations and failing platforms like Game, because who's not going to watch an ESL major if you're into that? Obviously, you're going to go wherever it's broadcast. So on the one hand, that could be seen as really, really good. On the other hand, it doesn't stop the runaway juggernaut that's ESL and gives them this ridiculous amount of power. So it's a very interesting time in the business. Very interesting time. And this acquisition going ahead, like I say, whether people realize it or not right now, massive game changer. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt us, because we've always been tight with ESL, and I just want to say, I just want to say, I welcome the acquisition, and I think it's going to take ESL in the right direction, and I'm sure they're going to pick up the right talent for events in future. So,
don't pick up any talent. Same thing with Nipmate. Just keep the same talent forever. It's all great, and I'll see you in 5 years. So, yeah, it's brilliant. Who doesn't love it?
So let's end the show on just one last brief thing. We've got the ESL, ESEA Pro League finals. They are looming large. 8 teams from around the globe are going to compete for $250,000 in prize money. That puts it level pegging with the major. They've already split $250,000 for the regular season. So it's been a very lucrative league, unprecedented amounts of prize money. The groups are out. I wanted to get your thoughts and a few predictions about this before we wrap up today. So just in Group A, we've got Cloud9, Virtus.Pro, Luminosity, and EnVyUs. Very exciting group. And of course, in Group B, we've got Fnatic, Keydstars, Team Solo Mid, and then probably, they may as well change their name to Team Fuck My Life. It's CLG. Because they're having a bad time in that group. I'm pretty confident about that. But anyway, just give me your thoughts, first of all, about Group A. We're going to see, obviously, Cloud9 and Virtus.Pro going at it again. Always a good series. Luminosity in there. They're a team I'm looking forward to seeing. And, of course, EnVyUs, who have shown at the most recent Gfinity they can turn it on whenever they need. So what do you think about it all?
Yeah, I mean, when you look on paper, everyone who's in the group with TSM and Fnatic, it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, these are literally the two best teams in the world, as well as two teams that are probably going to get it on some of the best to ever play CSGO. So there's a very low chance anyone except TSM Fnatic makes it out of that group. So in that group, I think it just becomes more of a case of like, try to have a good showing, try to get some experience, you know? The other group, now listen, VP, EnVyUs, Luminosity, Cloud9, yeah, this actually is weird because the two best teams in this group both have reasons that, to a degree, they're slumping. Like EnVyUs had all those questionable results, even against Cloud9 at the Gfinity, and obviously Virtus.Pro lost twice to MouseSports. So, hey, in this group, maybe this might sound crazy, but maybe something's possible. Maybe Luminosity or Cloud9 can have some crazy upset, and it's doable. Still unlikely, but this was a lot more doable than Group B, in my opinion. Group A is a lot more play.
Well, let's talk about how you see it going. I mean, do you think, for example, Cloud9 and Luminosity are going to bring anything? Because one of the big, one of the only criticisms of this league structure, of course, is you've got some real top European teams that obviously are absent, and you've got some fourth-placed NA teams, fourth and third place NA teams that we feel are going to do absolutely nothing. Arguably, even Cloud9 and Keyed Stars are going to do absolutely nothing. So is there any chance of, like, I don't know, Luminosity surprising anyone? Is there any chance of stylistically, because people haven't played these teams before? Like, Cloud9 are becoming a bit of a known quantity. They're going to European tournaments. They've got a massive, ridiculous run of European tournaments ahead of them. But someone like Luminosity, any chance of them catching bigger names with their pants down?
Seems unlikely. The reason it's possible is because it's best of one. So immediately that opens the door massively. As people like Cloud9 found, even if you get the one map, it's really hard to win a best of three off these elite level teams. But hey, listen, Luminosity over VP, that could happen if it's the right map. If they get one good half in, you know, a mixture of VP having problems on the behind. So listen, that could happen. I'd still bet against it. But in best of ones, obviously, it does have more of an X factor in terms of like, just on the day performance, whereas it smooths the curve out of it when you go to a best of three. With that said, of the two teams, I would definitely pick Cloud9 to be the one that had the better chance. Like Luminosity's lineup, I mean, he's never played a LAN as far as I know with this lineup. So I have no basis to say that they could beat Virtus.Pro or EnVyUs. So Cloud9, at least, hey, I literally saw Cloud9 win a map off EnVyUs only the other week. So I know it's possible. I still wouldn't bet on it, but I think it's possible.
Okay. But just to call it an overall winner, how do you see it going? I mean, you know, the Fnatic TSM thing, they're in the same group. Obviously, we'd expect them to go through, and then I think how the format works, that obviously means they can't meet again to the final. Do we see that? That's how it's going to be. Anyone in Group A could upset that apple cart, maybe EnVyUs.
I think it has to be Fnatic or TSM. There's no doubt. Like, I would literally put the odds at somewhat crazy, like 95% that Fnatic or TSM win the event. Here's the thing. What's great about this event is, first of all, I think it will answer some of the questions I have about TSM, and it will really help to dictate how the future is going to go. Because to me, Fnatic is the best overall team. Like, they're the best team at the majority of the field. If you put 10 teams against Fnatic, they'll beat 8 or 9 of them with a very high percentage. Now, TSM beats Fnatic. That much we've seen so far. And at the moment, we have no reason to think that's different. So for me, the big question here is, can anyone else beat TSM? If no one else can beat TSM, then TSM will play Fnatic and they will beat Fnatic. That's what I think will happen. But if I had to pick out two teams I really wanted to see play TSM in a best of three series, it's EnVyUs and it's Virtus.Pro. Virtus.Pro beat them in a best of three. The only best of three TSM's lost during that 3 tournament span, which was at the Face It tournament. And EnVyUs hasn't played them, from what I remember. Yeah, I don't think they've played them at all in that time span. And I'd really love to see those teams play a big best of three, because listen, EnVyUs have got some heavy hitting star players. I think those are two teams that that could be winners over TSM. So the reason why at the moment, I've got some time working on about this, why I don't think TSM is going to become like the next dynasty, you know? I think they're going to be a very good team, a top 3 team, definitely. They're going to win events, but I don't think they're going to have like some sick run of dominance of winning like another 3 events in a row and always being. I think that they'll be like the kryptonite to Fnatic, and aside from that, they'll just be an elite team with Fnatic and with whoever next turns out to be good. Will it be EnVyUs? Will it be Virtus.Pro? I think it'll be like a 2 or 3 teams at the top, you know? So I think this event hopefully will help me see if that's an inaccurate theory or whether there's something to that, you know.
And you don't think this whole TSM taking a break because of exams and all that's going to maybe throw this extra dimension in that TSM are going to come in unprepared, whereas Fnatic, by contrast, you know, the only event they've missed recently is Gfinity, and I don't know if that was because they wanted to concentrate on the ESL, ESEA. I think at Gfinity there was talk that maybe Olafmeister still wasn't feeling very well with the ear surgery. He was maybe having to look at further surgery, and I don't know which one it was. But, yeah, I mean, do you think that TSM taking this prolonged break could be something to be mindful of?
If it is, then I don't think it'll be as in they just had a break and they got worse. Like, there is another factor, okay, which you have to consider, which is that they did play out of this universe at 2 of the 3 tournaments. Like, at the first one they won, the CCS, they were unreal. I don't think it'll be very hard to ever hit that level again. That's going to be a one-off. Face It was a bit closer because aside from the Fnatic win at that tournament, they're very close series the whole way. So that one was more like, okay, this is maybe like an off day or an average day for them. And then the third tournament, Fragmite Masters, obviously they lost to Fnatic, but aside from that, yeah, they had some close games, but they always came through. So I feel like when you take an average of the 3 tournaments, that it is true that maybe they can turn up and their form isn't as good overall as the curve would be because it was skewed by the first tournament. I think we're all still thinking of that CCS. It still shocks me to this day that how dominant they were. So I still feel like if they can turn up like that, yeah, they will be the best team in the world. But thinking of the last few tournaments and this layoff, it's also possible they come in slightly worse even than the other 2 tournaments. So I think as an average, I'd expect them to be competitive with most of the top teams, VP, EnVyUs, and probably beat Fnatic. But I don't think they're going to be in God mode, no. I don't think that will happen anyway, though, you know, is what I'm kind of saying.
Okay, interesting. Well, look, I think at that juncture, we'll kill it off there. You know, always good to get your thoughts. I'm pretty sure this show's gonna blow up on Reddit when the NIP fans get hold of it. So you know, thanks for that. I kind of feel
well, at least I give them some entertainment to watch, right? They can't watch that CS team anymore.
I kind of feel a lot like the transition the UK went through in the 80s, where it was like the Middle East were burning effigies of Ronald Reagan, but we were always all right. They always left us alone. And slowly but surely, as America had that special relationship with Britain, we got dragged into these, you know, global politics that we didn't want to be involved in. And we got dragged kicking and screaming to a point where we're now as unilaterally reviled as America is by that part of the world. And I think you've just kind of done that to me today. So I want to thank you.
Well, if a NIP fan runs up and shanks you in the street anonymously, leaves a message saying 87 and 0 on you, I'll admit it will make me question my actions and I will feel a moment of sorrow for you, Rich. So maybe that'll be the moment I feel like I've gone too far.
Nice. So NIP to cause Richard Lewis's RIP. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, you worked in my kind of a joke there. Well done.
Yeah. I know. I know you like it when we bust out the abbreviations like DDK, AFK, MBK, all of that. Yeah. Been fun. Have a great time in Korea. I know it's late out there. Everyone's loving your new look. You know, a T-shirt, Thorin. You know, it's been good. Enjoy the honeys and whatever else you're up to. That's the end of the show, folks. So want to thank you very much for tuning in and enjoying our little podcast here. We're going to be able to talk more about drafting and whatnot next week. We're going to have some more events for you and slightly less news and slightly less drama, probably, unless Duncan causes some. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you at the same time next week, and may all your drafts be alpha.